king or queen or something like that, that you're not sure about the value. Be careful with two suitors. That doesn't mean that you can't open two clubs when you're 6'5", but don't stretch a two club opening when you're 6'5", because what's going to happen is your bidding space is going to get away from you, and you're going to have a very hard time conveying your shape, and it's going to be easier to paint a 6'5" pattern if you just open, just open your longest suit and then bid the second suit and then bid the second suit again, and partner will start to get the idea that you're distributional. But look, with the hand, look, if it's 6'5" shape and and 22 high card points, then by all means, still open two clubs. We just don't stretch it because that's a hand you can has great playing strength, right? But if you're two suited and you only have 16 or 17 or something like that, I wouldn't do it. And then for really the same reasons, when your long suit is a major, it's easier to start with two clubs, right? Because you're probably going to get to bid your major at the 2 level. And if it's not a solid suit where you can insist on it, you can bid it at the 2 level and rebid it at the 3 level if you need to.
Minor suit's tough,
right? Because we end up with awkward bidding sequences, like let's say the auction begins that way. Okay, so your 2 club opener is based on a long club suit, on a long good club suit. All right. Well, now that so-called double negative, remember it's the cheapest available minor bid is our double negative. So now your partner's bidding 3 diamonds just to say, hey, I'm broke, you're on your own. All right, well, now what? I mean,
is 3 no playable?
I don't know. I mean, if you're what if you have a singleton somewhere and partner's saying, I don't have much? Well, so, you're probably going to at least 4 clubs, right? I mean, this auction is getting pretty high pretty fast. I would say that I generally subscribe to the notion that if I open 2 clubs with a long minor, I definitely want to be in game somewhere.
If not.
We might open 2 clubs, like especially the hand that opens 2 clubs and rebids 2 no. The balanced 2 club opener. On rare occasion, we might stay out of game with a hand like that when we catch partner just completely broke. But if I open 2 clubs and it's based on a long minor, or maybe it's a minor and maybe there's a 4 or even a 5 card major on the side or something like that. But if I have, say 6 or 7 card club or diamond suit or something like that, a hand that is not only powerful for high card strength but also distribution. My intent is to end up in a game somewhere, even if partner is broke. So you can open, you can open 1 club or 1 diamond, pretty heavy with a hand that some people might be tempted to open 2 clubs. I'm trying to think. I don't have a good example with me on that, but I know I had one come up not terribly long ago.
Anybody have any questions on stuff so far? I'm trying to be careful to track where we are because I know we'll want to take a short break, and also
I will have a couple of hands for you. We're going to try and get in at least a couple of boards every day, and so I need to make sure that we are definitely done with lecture by 10 or 15 after 10, so that we have time for that. I want to talk about, especially since this is on your handout, Has anybody here played other methods of responding to two clubs besides two diamonds waiting?
Just two hearts bust and
Two
at the
hearts
request
bust.
of my partner.
And I played Wish.
And then, is that the steps?
No,
is
it's
it-
Wish. Two diamonds is waiting, two hearts is icky, two spades
Oh.
is, I don't remember.
Spades.
I haven't
Oh.
played
Spades.
Oh.
It's spades and I have.
And two,
hearts
okay.
hearts.
I've never heard it called that. Somebody mentioned that the other day and I didn't know what they were talking about. I was like, Wish? I
Well,
was like,
that's
what's Wish?
actually the same
Yeah.
thing
I
as.
don't know. I haven't played it
the
in years,
eye
but
is-
I obviously can't
Yeah.
remember it, but I remember.
The
No,
eye
it's-
is icky, huh?
No, it's
This is doing.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I mean, one of our
Yeah.
questions is gonna be, what's your preference?
So I have typically not been too picky about this. I will say that with almost all of my partners, I just play two diamonds waiting. Now there's another piece to that that improves it just a little bit. That's not on our agenda, although we could talk about it at some point. And that's playing Kokish along with that. Has anybody heard of that?
Spell it.
Oh. Oh, it came up during game tries.
Yeah, there's Kokish game tries as well. Same Kokish, Eric Kokish.
Different
Canadian.
gadget. Different
Yes.
gadget.
Yes, different gadget. And so it's a little something that helps improve your two diamond weighting sequences. So a couple of alternatives, and by the way, I would this is on my list of things that you never want to do. But for some reason, a lot of people start with this when they first learn bridge. The point count, step response,
No.
almost completely useless. Please don't ever play that. That is a dreadful treatment. I feel like I don't know where that became popular, but I mean I'm glad to see. I don't see anybody really teaching that anymore, which is good. So I
What's
think-
the problem with it?
it's just not very useful information. Because when you tell partner, if you bid, if we're doing step responses, and let's say we respond two hearts, and it shows 4 to 6 points. Well, is that a couple queens and a couple jacks, or is there an ace? Because big difference. When you open two clubs, controls become very important. Especially when you look at a hand like we looked at a little bit ago with that solid spade suit, and we said, hey, if partner had the king of diamonds or the ace of clubs, we can envision a slam. So where those points are, one control like that, one king is often a lot more useful than a greater point total that is the sum of some queens and jacks. Because that's what we're after when we have a two club opener. We're looking, we probably don't have too many losers in our hand, and we're looking for cover cards for those losers. And so, so it just doesn't give a lot of useful information. Now you might say, okay, well, two diamonds waiting doesn't give a lot of useful information, and that's true. But what it does is it just kind of keeps the auction going and kicks it back to the two club opener. Because we want the big hit, because the two club opening can look so different, because it might be balanced or it might be distributional. We want to hear from the two club opener first, right? We want to know what is the nature of this strong opening. And so I do think it's in your best interest to give the opener a chance to do that. Now, one alternative. And I said, I used to play this a lot. I've kind of moved away from it. It does have some value, and that is the two hearts bust. So if you play this treatment, then your two heart response is completely artificial, and it says, partner, I'm broke. I don't have an ace. I don't have a king. Some people will say that they won't make the bust bid if they have 3 queens. Yeah, that's kind of a partnership thing. But so you can have a few points, right? I mean, you can have 4, 5, 6 points over there. You just don't have any aces or kings. What the two heart bust theoretically does that helps you is it removes the need for that double negative, right? It removes the need to use a second bid just to say I'm broke, right? So, so if we have an auction that's, two clubs, two diamonds, opener bids spades, and you bid three clubs as your double negative, well, notice, here, now the auction is at the 3 level, and we've just now told partner, hey, don't have much. Whereas the opener got to hear about it right away here, and and hasn't even shown a suit yet. So it will keep your bidding a little bit lower. That's probably one advantage to it.
Now, am I allowed to pass that 2-spade bid as responder?
So in my universe, I always used to play that you could. I had one partner get very upset with me when I was totally broke for passing on an auction just like this. And I said, and my comment afterwards was, I said, if I'm forced to bid again, then we should just play 2 diamonds waiting. Yeah, because I already told you I was broke. How many different ways do you want me to tell you I'm broke? Right? Yeah, right? I mean, what am I supposed to do? I was really on the spot.
What if the
Plus, when
opener,
opener jumps to 3 spades, then you know that he's extra.
Yeah, if opener were to jump to 3
Good.
spades, I would say, yeah, you cannot pass.
And isn't that what opener should do if he
Right,
already knows
yeah.
you're broke?
Well, remember that opener, if opener wants, they can just place the contract, right? I mean, if you have a hand that looks like what we saw before with a solid spade suit, you don't even need to mess with that. You can say, okay, well, if you have no aces and no kings, we definitely don't have a slam, so I might as well just bid 4 spades, because we're not going to take more than 10 or 11 tricks, probably, right? So yeah, that it gets to be a little tricky. One other problem that it presents for you, and this is a smaller part of the problem, but worth noting. What if the strong hand actually has heart suit?
right,
Yeah.
it's your main.
So not only does it, so it makes the auction kind of awkward, and it also means that the big hand is gonna get tabled as the dummy when you play in hearts, right?
Yeah, because diamonds, you tend not to go to diamonds. You end up usually
Right.
in Notrum. Whereas hearts, you would want to play as
Exactly.
a major.
Yeah, and I would say, while we're on that subject, I would say in general, whatever system you play as over 2 clubs, I would be as reluctant as you realistically can as responder. Definitely be reluctant to bid no trump. Try, because if your side is going to end up in no trump, generally only do it if the big hand can't bid no trump and you've got the suit stopped that they don't know about. We hope that 3-no almost never plays from the weak side. We would also hope that it would be pretty rare to play even in a major from the weak side. Now it could happen on an auction like this. On the other hand, remember that anytime, usually when we see a 2-club opening, the most common rebid is 2-no. Because most of the time it's actually a big balanced hand. That's the most likely strong hand that we see. Well, now let's take advantage of all of our systems, right? Because if our auction starts 2 clubs, 2 diamonds, 2-no, or for that, in theory, you could have the same auction here, even with the 2-heart bust, right? 2 clubs, 2 hearts, 2-no. You could still play your systems, right? 3 clubs could still be Stamen, and you could still have your transfers, except we already know which side, you can go through the transfer as a matter of practice, but hearts is going to play from the weak side no matter what if you're playing hearts, right? So. The other one, and I think, let me give you this other method, and then why don't we take a short break?
That Kodesh, is that the same as what you're talking about?
No,
Is
no,
that something else?
Kokesh is something else.
So you're avoiding it because it's too complex?
It's a little involved. So Kokesh works best with 2 diamonds waiting.
Right.
And so
Got that.
and it applies on this auction right here. And so what it does is when the opener bids two hearts, it's one of two hands. It's either actually hearts, a long heart suit, as part of that strong opening, or it is a balanced hand that is too strong to rebid to no. And what this does is it keeps you from having to jump. And so what ends up happening is that the kokish is a relay. And so anytime the opener's first bid is two hearts after two clubs, responder must bid two spades, and now this hand either bids two no or three hearts to show, which hand type it is.
So that hand plays two spades.
It's a two spades ends up being a forced bid. So that gets a little involved. Why don't we come back to that if that's something that you want to look at. The main use of kokish it's when you have like 25 balanced. It makes it so that you don't have to jump to 3-no, which also creates kind of an awkward auction. Again, like we don't want to jump in our two club auctions very often if we can help it.
I have a partner who likes to say, if I have 8 points, I'm going to say two no trump when you open two clubs.
So
And I think that's awkward.
So if you are making what we would call a positive response, in other words, you're doing something other than bidding two diamonds, and this applies again when you're playing waiting. Theoretically, all of these bids are natural and positive. So they show 8 or more points and at least a good 5-card suit. And we usually say 2 of the top 3 honors. So it's not very often the partner opens 2 clubs and you have a good enough hand to give a positive response. So it's fairly uncommon. Now I'll show you something here in this third possibility of structure. I would tend to avoid that, but there's one hand type that's really good for it. Because again, like I said, we'd rather not have responder being the one to bid no trump.
So the question I have is, if that responder does bid two no trump, now our system's on?
No.
Just
Yeah.
asking.
Because the opener hasn't even had a chance to say anything yet, right? They haven't even had a chance to say whether they're balanced or whether they're or whether it's a long suit. Now, what some people like, and I do have one partner that I around here that I played this with. Some people like to play controls, and it's this is like all the other systems, there are pluses and there are minuses. The control structure that is on your handout is the one that I have found that I like the best. It requires a little more memory work. But when we play controls, what we do is we assign a value of 1 to a king and a value of 2 to an ace. And then we tell partner how many controls we have. And so all of our responses to 2 clubs, these are all artificial. So 2 diamonds is 0 or 1 controls. So rather than 2 diamonds being waiting, if you bid 2 diamonds, you're telling partner the most I can have is a king. You've absolutely denied an ace because an ace is 2 controls and you've said I have 0 or 1. And you haven't even promised a king. So this is sort of, it's the closest equivalent to your bust hand, right? But if you have a king, I don't think you should view this as a bust. You're going to make sure that your side gets to a game, I hope. Right. 2 hearts ends up being 2 controls. Now we can arrive at 2 controls either by having an ace or by having 2 kings. Well, the nice thing about this is that a lot of times the two club opener's hand is so strong and has so many aces or kings, a lot of times you can tell which it is. Not always. But sometimes, like what if the two club bidder has 3 of the kings, right? Now they know you have an ace. So you can sometimes make some deductions about the control based on your own hand. So this is where the control system really helps you because a lot of times you can pinpoint exact cards, and that's going to tell you whether slam looks good or not. I would say the biggest drawback to using your controls is that while we're in this process of showing controls and we've put the priority on that, we're doing that first, what we're not doing is conveying our distribution, right? And so while that first series of bids is controls, it doesn't say anything about suits. And now sometimes we're already at the 3 level before we're starting to have a conversation about, what if I'm distributional and I have a long suit or 2 suits, right? Or even responder, right? Because responder is showing controls, whether they're balanced or whether they have a long suit. So that's probably what you give up here. Now, two spades and 3 clubs, and we're skipping 2 no for the moment.
Again,
So this is a bid that shows 3 controls, and notice that as we graduate, we're showing more and more controls. Now, how could we arrive at 3 controls? Well, one way is an ace and a king, right? Your 2 control points for the ace and your 1 control point for the king. And so in this structure, we can actually tell partner whether we have an ace-king in different suits or an ace-king in the same suit. And again, a lot of times the big hand knows exactly which cards we're talking about here. So there's a lot of value to that. And this will take us back to Joanne's question, but there is one other way to arrive at 3 controls. You can have 3 kings, right? And that's what 2 no is used for. Now, here's the next question. There's that too. That was another one. But so, but Joanne, since you asked, now what happens if responder shows 3 kings? Well, if you end up playing no trump, whether it's 3 no or a slam, or 4 no, or wherever you end up, but if you end up playing a no trump, who declares it? The responder, right? How do you feel about an opening lead coming into a hand that has 3 kings? That's actually pretty desirable, right? And so that's why we use that in the control structure. The best situation to have a weaker hand declaring would be with an opening lead coming into a hand with protected kings. Aces, we don't care, right? Aces, it doesn't matter which hand they're in, right? But a king, if the opponents do have an ace of a suit where you have a king, and you declare it, then on the lead of that suit, your king is protected. It's not going to get covered by an ace. And so that's the rationale behind this structure. And then the response that never really comes up, although it would have come up with the hand that Tom gave me before class, where responder actually had 2 aces, 3 diamonds would be used to show 4 or more controls. And if you get that response, it's a pretty sure bet that you are headed toward a slam somewhere. If you have 2 aces or better opposite a 2 club opener. I really feel like, and I do want to break for a few minutes here, but I really feel like this is a matter of choice. All of these methods of responding to 2 clubs have they have benefits and they have drawbacks. None of them are perfect because, as I said in the beginning, 2 clubs is just kind of awkward. It's the most awkward part of our system. because of the bidding space it eats up, that it eats up. And so, yeah, this is an area where, say precision players have a bit of an advantage. They get to make a forcing opening at the one level, and they have a lot more room to work with and can exchange a lot more information.
So the bottom line is just do what we've been doing.
I would say,
Yes.
It's interesting
yeah, I mean,
to know what other people are doing, although
yeah,
they don't do that.
I would say in situations where you don't have a regular partner that you play with often, probably best to stick with two diamonds waiting. However, if you develop a partnership with one particular partner and you like to use the two hearts bust, or you like to use the control structure, and you play with that partner a lot, and you can remember something like this, it does have advantages.
How many points do you need to do all that?
Well, so you are conveying your points with your control bid. So you're using something within this structure. Most often your most common bid is going to be two diamonds, because so often partner opens two clubs and you don't have an ace, right? And if you don't have an ace, most of the time you're responding two diamonds. You could be responding two hearts with two kings, but
We still do this, although it probably.
And you could have Queen Jack in a couple of suits and get the point count up and still have to bid two diamonds.
right, exactly. I mean, in theory, you could have all the queens and all the jacks and still have to give a zero control bid, and yet that would be 12 points, right? 4 queens and 4 jacks. So why don't we break for